It's over, just need to rant me, 22 male, and my now ex-girlfriend, 22 female, were together for 2 years and were living together before we eventually broke up. I'm honestly still confused with how things came to be. But I figured why not come to Reddit to share my thoughts. First, some backstory. Me and my girlfriend were in a happy relationship, at least from my perspective. Yes, we would occasionally argue about small stuff, but it was never something I didn't think that we could work through. It sounds childish to say this, but a pretty common argument we had was about video games. She streamed games on Twitch and I was just a casual gamer, but we could never seem to find a game that we both enjoyed playing together. We simply had different taste. This never bothered me as much as it did her. She was always upset about it. So I was constantly on the hunt for new games that we could try together. I'd even sucked it up and play games that I didn't necessarily enjoy, but nothing seemed to make her happy. Eventually, her streaming on Twitch started to gain some traction, and she gained a good bit of viewers. I was happy for her and tried to be as supportive as I could. However, watching her streams began to make me uncomfortable. She was getting extremely close to some of her male followers, and she began to have a flirty tone when she was streaming. I always tried to be open with her about my feelings and went to talk to her about my concerns. I asked why she was being so flirty with the viewers and if she could dial it back because it was making me uncomfortable. She claimed that it was the best way to grow her channel fast, and it was part of her streaming character. I told her that simply wasn't true, and that it would only attract the worst kind of audience to her channel, but she argued this so much I eventually just let it go. As for her getting close to some of her male viewers, she claimed that she wanted to stay anonymous on Twitch when she started streaming, yet she showed these people her face, gave out her phone number, and messaged them constantly. Again, I voiced my concerns. You don't know these people. You've talked to this guy for a week, and he already knows everything about you. 1, it's not safe, and 2, I'm honestly uncomfortable with it. She immediately pointed out the fact that they enjoy playing the same games that she does, unlike me, apparently, and that they are just friends, so I let it go again. A while passes and our relationship has not improved very much, but I'm trying my best, always asking to go out and try new things, trying to have date nights more often, but she didn't seem as interested as she used to. Soon, a new viewer's name started to pop up a lot when she talked about her streaming. I was still uncomfortable about how flirty she was with everybody on stream, so I didn't always watch and heard how it went secondhand from her. We will call this viewer Avery, by the way. My girlfriend brought up this name in passing a lot, and I always assumed it was another female streamer by the name, but eventually I asked some more questions about them and found out that Avery was actually a guy. Like many times before, she had given him her number, and she even sent a small gift to him for his birthday, despite only knowing him for a small amount of time and him living in Europe. We are in the USA. However, she told me that he was in a serious relationship with somebody, and again, they were just friends, so I ignored it. I am a kind and dumb soul at heart. While hanging out together, I began to notice some new habits of hers. She was always on her phone texting somebody. She was more defensive about me handling her phone than usual, and she would ask to be left alone more often. Eventually, I found out that she was, in fact, messaging Avery that whole time. Once again, I went up to her and expressed my concerns. I don't think I'm comfortable anymore with Avery, if I'm being honest. She got defensive and began to compare us. He enjoys talking to me, playing the same games, and even calls me funny. You have never called me funny. At some point, she let it slip that Avery, in fact, broke up with his partner as well. That did not sit well with me. But she sighed and asked if I wanted for her to block his number. I didn't know how to respond at first. Why did she immediately jump to blocking him? Do I want it to go that far? I never want to be a controlling boyfriend, but I was extremely uncomfortable with the situation. What do I want? Eventually, this is what I told her. I don't want to tell you to block him, that is up to you. I just want to let you know that I am uncomfortable with him, and I want something to change. Her response to this was to call her dad and ask his opinion. After a 30-minute phone call that I wasn't a part of, she came over and said that she had just blocked Avery on everything. Story over? Nope. Honestly, after that discussion, I was about done with the relationship. I felt something coming and began to secretly start to pack up my belongings to leave just in case. Apparently, my intuition was correct. The next morning, I had noticed she was on her phone texting a lot. I asked who she was messaging, and she said, "Oh, I'm just on Twitter." She was obviously lying at that point, so I continued to pack in secret. Later that afternoon, I walked into her office unannounced to see how she was doing. She was supposedly doing homework. When I walked in, I noticed her quickly try to shut down a Discord window on her computer. She was too slow, however, as I had already recognized the user icon of the person on the other end of the call. It was Avery. And in the text conversation was a message from him that read, "Eily, I love you." This was the line. I pulled her away from her computer and expressed my feelings a lot calmer than I probably should have at that point. "You lied to me. He is clearly not blocked. It has only been one day and you couldn't not talk to him for that long. I am extremely uncomfortable with all of this and I don't know how I'm feeling right now." I honestly don't even remember the excuse she came up with for why they were talking again. But she said the illy was just as friends, right? I too tell friends that I've known for less than 2 months that I love them. I ended up going to bed that night, waking up in the morning and telling her that we are through. She agreed, and I moved out that day. At this point, the story should actually be over. I caught her talking to a guy behind my back. She had emotionally cheated on me and lied to my face. But I was dumb, emotional, overly attached, and in denial. After about 3 months and one small fling later, I call her. At this point, I don't know what I was doing. The call was on a whim, but I told her I just wanted to see how she was doing and asked if we could catch up, so we start talking. Here in the story, I do a lot of things I am not proud of. I was feeling extremely depressed over many things going on in my life on top of the recent breakup, and I regret all of my actions from here on. After the initial call, we begin to text somewhat often. She tells me she is in a new relationship but does not go into detail about it. Immediately after hearing this, I get emotional and say that I want to try again. I still have feelings for you, and I think we can work things out, knowing full and well that she is seeing somebody. To my surprise, she entertains my thought and says that she would have to do a lot of thinking. Over the course of a week, we talk a lot more, and I honestly begin to think that we are going to work through this and get back together. Apparently, her family is on my side of the whole ordeal, and her new relationship has some problems, according to her. Eventually, the elephant in the room came up, Avery. I told her that it was a sore subject for me, and if we did get back together, he cannot be around and would actually have to be blocked if I was ever going to be comfortable in the new situation. She said she understood that condition, but then told me that her new boyfriend was in fact Avery. This is where all the denial and stupidity comes in on my end. I had to think about the situation for a minute. Well, clearly she has been seriously considering getting back together for over a week now. So maybe their relationship is going terribly, and she wants to come back to me. At this point, she admitted to me that she began to catch feelings for Avery toward the end of our relationship. So as far as I knew, she had only emotionally cheated on me. Right? Well, tonight we were continuing to discuss the possibility of getting back together, but some more serious questions began to pop up. I ended up telling her that I did have a small relationship while we were broken up and even slept with her. Well, this led into a conversation that I wish I never ended up having. She said that it did not make her happy to hear that I slept with another person, but she had to get something off of her chest before we continued to discuss starting a relationship again. For the last week that we were still together, she had been exchanging sexual messages with Avery. I was in shock for a while after reading that. I did not know how to respond. But after a few minutes, all the denial had seemingly vanished from my mind. It was not simply emotional cheating. It was just flat out cheating. After reading that, all kind and calm thoughts were gone. I left a very angry text and blocked her on everything. End of story. This is honestly all still very fresh, and I don't know if I will be able to move on from it anytime soon. It has been a roller coaster of emotions, and I did seriously think that we would be together forever. But people suck, and you never know who you can trust. To watch more stories, head to the channel.